I'm Jack Heath, and this is how I describe a room. In this case, this is my book, Kill Your Husband, that I'm working on at the moment. The main character, or one of the main characters, Kiara, has just walked into a mechanic's garage, and I need to describe the garage. So, typically in a first draft, I'll say something like the garage was 5 meters by 4 with a high ceiling, and then it was dark. There were several vehicles, and the floor was concrete and stained with oil. Now, most of that is going to end up being deleted because it's either details that are boring, such as the size, or it's details that are things the reader will assume on their own. Like, they hear the word garage and they're not going to assume that the floor was carpet, right? They're going to assume it was concrete, they're going to picture oil stains, all that stuff. You don't need those obvious details. So, instead of dark, let's call it a dimly lit garage. Should that be hyphenated? Probably. If I'd gone to university, I'd know. The dimly lit garage, like, yeah, I have proofreaders and copy editors and stuff like that. Smelled of. It's a good idea to include some sensations when you're describing a room, not just visual stuff. And again, oil is the obvious thing. Radiator fluid, I don't actually know what that is, so I'd be nervous about using it. Let's say sugar soap. That feels like something that might end up getting used in a garage by a mechanic. Another thing that I'm picturing is like a calendar with sort of a sexy pin-up on the wall, so I'm not going to use that because the fact that I'm picturing it means it's like a cliche. A poster bolted to the corrugated wall reminded all staff to wear PPE? Is that too much? I don't like referring to COVID too much in this stuff. People read my fiction in order to get COVID out of their minds. But what's something let's say protective gloves. That's something. Let's say a poster bolted to the corrugated wall reminded all staff to wear protective gloves at all times, even though the only employee was Bill and he wasn't wearing them. So now we've introduced a character into the setting. Ideally, you don't want to have plot, character, and setting as 3 separate paragraphs. You want to kind of blend everything together. Who wasn't wearing them? So the only car was a dented Jaguar raised up on a steel platform to expose the dirty underside. Now, this is actually a clue. So this is one of those details where it needs to be there because it's a clue for something that's going to happen later in the story. But I don't want the reader to know it's a clue. So they need to notice it, but they don't. But they need to notice it without noticing that they noticed it. So I need to make it interesting without making it obvious that it's a clue. So the only car was a dented Jaguar. Let's say the only vehicle. Raised. Now feels like it needs an interesting simile here. Like, instead of the dirty undercarriage, let's say, like, the dirty belly of a whale. Because whales have kind of dirty tummies, don't they? That's something I might have to research later. Okie dokie. So let's get rid of all the stuff we wrote before. And last thing I do is I quickly read it aloud to make sure I'm happy with it. Usually with the paragraph above and below. Bill trained alongside Kiara at the police academy in Golden. Like most of the cadets, he'd signed up to get... Ooh, I've already spotted a problem. This is supposed to be in present tense. This... the stuff I just read to you is in past tense because it happened in the past, but the scene in the garage is happening right now. So, smells of sugar soap. A poster bolted to the corrugated wall reminds all staff to wear protective gloves at all times, even though the only employee is Bill, who isn't wearing them. The only vehicle is a dented Jaguar raised up on a steel platform to expose the undercarriage like the dirty belly of a whale. There we go. Hoping to book in a service, Kiara says. Alright, so that's how I describe a room. Not too hard, is it? This software, by the way, is called YWriter 7. It's where I write all my first drafts, and I'd highly recommend it. Okie dokie. I'm Jack Heath, author of Kill Your Brother, and soon this book, Kill Your Husband. Hope you like it. If you're planning on reading it, please don't read all this stuff over in the side that like spoils the whole plot. Okay, quick Jack, stop the video before you reveal everything.